Alrighty, hoes, you already know what it is. Ubisoft. This is an apple of Eden, which means I have all the answers. It's a fact, alright? But, what am I saying? I'm saying that Ubisoft has made a direct official response to the Japanese community, and it's not exactly an apology what people would expect. But once again, that's kind of, I already knew that. Me with my, foresight and shit like that. So we're basically gonna see what they said. It's like a 4-page, little expression, and other than that, pretty much, yeah, we're going to dissect and see what they really mean, what this means. Although I'm pretty sure everyone here has a pretty good idea of what Ubisoft is going to say. All right, but anyways, let's get into it. So they wrote, to our esteemed Japanese community, a message from the Assassin's Creed Shadows development team. First, we want to express our heartfelt thanks for all your support for the Assassin's Creed series, which now has its own history spanning almost 20 years. It's true that this is like honestly one of the longest running video game franchises in history. It's fucking nuts, man. Over this time, we have explored various settings, time periods, and characters from an assassin during the Third Crusade, Altair, to a Viking in 9th century England, Eivor, and countless more. For many of our team, creating an Assassin's Creed game set in feudal Japan has been a long cherished dream. Ever since Brotherhood, people have been asking for an Assassin's Creed in Japan, right? Since the announcement of Assassin's Creed Shadows, we have received many positive reactions. You sure about that? But also some criticism, including from you, our Japanese players. We share your passion for history and deeply respect your care for the historical and cultural integrity of your rich heritage. We would like to address a few points to clarify our interactions and creative intentions and creative decisions. Overall authenticity efforts, we have put a significant effort into ensuring an immersive and respectful representation of feudal Japan. However, our intention has never been to present any of our Assassin's Creed games, including Assassin's Creed Shadows, as factual representations of history or historical characters. This is very important. We'll talk about this later, alright? Instead, we aim to spark curiosity and encourage players to explore and learn more about the historical settings we get inspired by. Assassin's Creed Shadows is first and foremost designed to be an entertaining video game that tells a compelling historical fiction set in feudal Japan. Once again, more on that later. We're going to dissect this, right? Our team extensively collaborated with external consultants, historians, researchers, and internal teams at Ubisoft Japan to inform our creative choices. Despite these sustained efforts, we acknowledge that some elements in our promotional materials have caused concern within the Japanese community. For this, we sincerely apologize. Okay, so it's kind of an apology, but not really. All game footage presented so far is in development, and the game will keep evolving until launch. Like I said in my previous videos, they're still very much working on it. They're late into development. It's going to drop in November, so it's really close. You know what I'm saying? Based on the constructive criticism we have received, we will continue our efforts until we put this game into your hands and beyond. We also want to clarify that while we have been consulting with many people throughout the development process, they are in no way responsible for the decisions that are taken by the creative teams in the interest of gameplay entertainment, right? Like, if you're gonna yell at anyone, yell at the people, the higher ups, the executives, because they're the ones who pull the strings. You know, they say make this kind of game, and the people making it, they have to make it. They have no choice. Consequently, we respectfully request that any criticism not be directed at our collaborators, both internal and external. Pretty simple, right? Now, this is a big point, right? Creative liberties and historical inspirations. While we strive for authenticity in everything that we do, Assassin's Creed games are works of fiction inspired by real historical events and figures. From its inception, the series has taken creative license and incorporated fantasy elements to craft engaging and immersive experiences. The representation of Yasuke in our game is an illustration of this. His unique and mysterious life made him an ideal candidate to tell an Assassin's Creed story with the setting of feudal Japan as a backdrop. While Yasuke is depicted as a samurai in Assassin's Creed Shadows, we acknowledge that this is a matter of debate and discussion, as we've all seen. We have woven this carefully into our narrative, and with our other lead character, the Japanese shinobi Nawe, who is equally important in the game, our dual protagonists provide players with different gameplay styles. Namely, if you want to play as like RPG, no stealth, just going in, katanas drawn, that's Yasuke, because he's the brute. And if you want to play as an actual assassin with a hood and a hidden blade, that's Nawe, stealthily. You know what I'm saying? We greatly value your feedback and encourage you to continue sharing your thoughts respectfully. Keyword respectfully. Good luck. While we understand that meeting everyone's expectations is very difficult, we sincerely hope that when Assassin's Creed Shadows launches on November 15th, players in Japan and around the world will appreciate the dedication, effort, and passion we have poured into it. Sincerely, the Assassin's Creed Shadows development team. So that was the whole thing. That's basically the statement they did, I think, yesterday. I'm covering it now because I didn't have time. Yeah, I mean, this is basically the takeaway of this is that it's something I've been saying ever since the very first video I made about Assassin's Creed Shadows. So once again, I've made a lot of videos on these about this topic about Assassin's Creed Shadows. So if you haven't seen those, you can check it out, right? And my opinions haven't changed all that much. In the very first video I made, addressing the controversy with the whole woke, people calling Assassin's Creed Shadows woke, I said I don't think it is, because in that video I said that even if, let's say, Yasuke was not a samurai, which a lot of people say he isn't. A lot of people say he's not a samurai. A lot of people say he wasn't even a retainer. So a lot of people say he's just like a random black guy. But we do agree he does still exist though, right? But this is what I said in that video. I said that even if Yasuke was just a retainer, the thing that Ubisoft does, the thing that Assassin's Creed does, is basically like an alternate reality type shit. Right, so say in real history, we figure out, okay, Yasuke was never a samurai, he wasn't even a retainer. Let's go that far, okay? Because I feel like a lot of people at least say that he's a retainer, but let's say he wasn't even like a retainer, right? Ubisoft has been making creative liberties with history ever since the beginning of the game. And here's one thing I gotta say though, right? I feel like majority of people who are mad about this aren't even Assassin's Creed fans. They haven't played a lot of Assassin's Creed games, right? And all they see is just a trailer and the cover of the game, right? They do not know, because once again, if you know me being a longtime Assassin's Creed fan, as you can tell, like the fuck, I know for a fact that historical inaccuracies are going to happen. That's been happening ever since the very first game. You want to know why I know? Because I played every single game, right? So I know. So majority of people who are mad about this are people who actually aren't even affiliated with the game, who aren't interested in the game. They're just interested in shitting on the game. Now, do I think that Ubisoft Quebec deserves shit? Yeah, I think Ubisoft in general, they deserve shit because they're one of like the worst. They're one of the worst publishers out there, I feel like, because of all the scummy and underhanded tactics they use to sell their games. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they're like a good, wholehearted company. You know what I'm saying? Right, so once again, it's always been so Assassin's Creed has always been like an alternate history what if scenario. That hey, okay, what if there were these two secret factions, the Assassins and the Templars, during this time period? It's never been, like they said, it's never been a retelling of history. It's not a documentary. It's like it takes inspiration from the people and from the timeline, from that time in history. You know what I'm saying? So wait, you're trying to tell me that Rodrigo Borgia, who was an actual real guy, he didn't have a boxing match with Ezio Auditore da Firenze underneath a cathedral? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Oh, are you also going to tell me that George Washington never became mad for power, built a pyramid in New York, and was killed by 6'2" Native American tank wearing a wolf foot? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Because that's what's happened. Once again, Assassin's Creed, if you knew, right? If you knew, it has always been like this. It's always been taking creative liberties ever since the first game. Now, the first game is probably the most closest thing there is to real life history, because in the first game is set in the Third Crusade, and that's actually when the real life assassins did exist, right? So Assassin's Creed 1 is essentially like the most closest thing we have to actual real depiction of history, because that's actually how it happened. Of course, it's been dramatized, but once again, that's the whole point. It's a fucking video game. It has to be dramatized, because unfortunately, life, right? Real history isn't as exciting as fiction. The whole point of it being a piece of fiction is that we can change things to make it more entertaining. Like if you're making a movie or a video game, you have to make that. Once again, that's just common knowledge. Because if you're going to make it exactly how it is in real life, no one's going to watch that shit. No one's going to play that shit because it's boring as shit. Because real life, frankly, is kind of boring. That's why people they go to fiction, right? They focus on that because, okay, the world I'm living in is so goddamn boring. So how about I make a world where I can just escape into? That's what video games are. That's what, like, basically any form of art is, really, right? Where you can just put yourself in that world for a little bit and then pull back, I'm back, and snap back to reality. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what it is. So I just have to make that clear because not a lot of people understand that Assassin's Creed has always been like this. They've always been rewriting, changing history, right? The only problem I see, so the problem isn't that they changed history. The problem is that they did it to the Japanese. And the Japanese care a lot about their history. Because like I mentioned in my previous videos, there was a game, Odyssey, set in ancient Greece. And as we all know, there were no female Spartans. But in that game, you're a female Spartan, right? And in that game, you're also a female and you're participating in the Olympics. Whereas in real history, women could not even watch men perform in the Olympics, right? So you see what I'm trying to say? They've been changing history, except no one from Greece said anything about that, right? And it's definitely not to this extent. because you got to realize that there was controversy all the time. I remember in the first Assassin's Creed game, there was controversy with the Arab portrayals in the game because it's set in the Middle East. So that was like banned for a couple of weeks in certain countries, right? Same thing with Unity, Assassin's Unity, which is set during the French Revolution. So a lot of people were not happy with the depiction of Robespierre, who was a prominent figure during the French Revolution, right? But once again, those controversies never led to a cancellation, because you got to realize that we live in an age where even the slightest of things that upset someone has to be canceled, right? And canceling is a lot different than banning. I'm not saying that games weren't banned back then. Of course they were. Look at any Rockstar game. Look at Bully. Look at Manhunt. Look at GTA Hot Coffee thing, right? They've all been banned. They've all had restrictions placed on them. But that's the thing. Restrictions, not total annihilation. What people here are asking for Assassin's Creed Shadows is annihilation. That's what cancellation means. Cancel it. Just delete it from history, delete it from existence. That's basically what cancellation is, right? Like, for example, God of War. God of War was banned in certain Arab countries because it had the title God in it. It had God, right? It said God of War, so they didn't like that. So they banned it in those countries. But guess what? You can still play God of War like anywhere else in the world, in America, Canada, Australia, UK, anywhere else, right? That game is still alive. It still exists. But what canceling does is it's trying to destroy its existence. It's trying to delete it from existence. And that's only a nowadays thing. Because nowadays people throw that term cancel everywhere. They're trying to cancel everywhere and everything. Everyone and everything. It doesn't make any fucking sense, does it? Right? So it's not that the previous games did not have controversy, because they did, right? But it was just never on this level that they want to delete it from existence. And like I said before, is Ubisoft gonna turn back and delete this game? Absolutely not. They have too much money, too much effort. They're late into development. They made their mind. And in this apology, this statement, they only apologize like once, saying that, oh yeah, I'm sorry, they feel bad, but we're still gonna do what we gotta do. Essentially, right? They're not gonna cancel the game. They're not gonna throw all their money in the garbage, because at the end of the day, they're a multi-billion-dollar company, and they care about money first and foremost, right? So yeah, I think people should realize that it's not the fact that they got history wrong, because they've been doing that since minute one. It's the fact that they did the Japanese, and the fact that they did it in today's day and age, right? If they didn't do the Japanese and they didn't do it in today's day and age, it would have been fine, essentially. It wouldn't have been this much of a controversy, right? But then again, I think that, okay, if the Japanese themselves are offended by this, then I guess that is an indication of you doing something wrong, because once again, who knows more about their culture than the people of the culture themselves? It kind of reminds me of that time when they were making a Cleopatra show on Netflix, and she was black. So a lot of Egyptians were mad about that, because once again, falsification of history, right? And I remember that the spokesperson for that Cleopatra show was obviously an American, and he was arguing with the Egyptian guy, Bassem Youssef. He was arguing with him about his history and his culture, which is, I mean, that's a different level of entitlement when it comes to Americans, right? Because how are you so entitled that you're telling the people their own culture, right? So in that sense, I understand why the Japanese would get mad, and I understand why people get mad, because once again, if the Japanese themselves are not happy about it, then how dare you, right? Because it's not your culture. You're essentially taking their culture and adapting it into what you should feel like. And yeah, that still does that still is like not a good thing. I don't think so. But once again, I understand why people are mad about it, and I somewhat to some extent also accept it, right? But you gotta realize, like, once again, once you know the context that it's Ubisoft and this is what they do, it's not really a big deal. If you think it's a big deal, then I guess the best way for you to protest is with your wallets. Just don't buy the game. When Ubisoft sees the huge hit they've taken in their financials, they won't make a game like, they won't make a mistake like this ever again. The thing is, they've been doing this ever since, right? And they've gotten away with it. No other game of theirs has been banned or has been canceled, right? So they're like, okay, we'll do the same thing with Japan, right? Except now, it feels like they've bit off more than they can chew. But at the end of the day, this is not a setback for Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's still going to come out. People are still going to buy it. A good amount of people are going to buy it, because once again, it has that brand name recognition. Me personally, I will eventually buy it. Not like day one. I'm not paying $160. Fuck that. I'm going to wait like 4 years, 5 years after, until it's on sale for like $50. Then I'll buy it. Then I'll play it. Right? But I will play it eventually, because once again, I've been a long time fan ever since the very first game. So I got to see where it goes. You know what I'm saying? And once again, it shows promise. Controversy aside, right? If we're talking about the gameplay looks interesting, because it seems like it could fit both archetypes of players. Those who want to be loud and brash and just combat, they can play Yasuke. Those who want to be stealthy assassin, traditional, they can be Inoue. So I mean, like, it's the best of the both worlds almost, right? So once again, I'm curious more than anything, because it's my favorite franchise, gaming franchise. of all time because I grew up playing these games. You know what I'm saying? It's special to me. So I need to see, out of curiosity, I need to see where it goes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but at the end of the day, I mean, once again, if the Japanese don't like it, then I mean, I guess, yeah, that is wrong on their part, right? And in terms of Ubisoft doing research, I think that's bullshit. I think they haven't taken enough time to actually do research for it. You want to know why? Because like mentioned in my previous videos, they keep on fucking up. Are we going to forget the time when they sent those collector editions to the Japanese gamers and the kanji was wrong? Or maybe like the symbols were wrong too. The symbol that Yasuke had on his flag, the emblem or whatever it was, that was wrong. Or maybe the fact that they ripped off Zoro's sword from One Piece blatantly. That is what Ubisoft deserves. That is what Ubisoft deserves hate for. Okay? They deserve hate for that shit, because that right there, for a AAA multi-billion-dollar company, is unacceptable. It's completely unprofessional. How the fuck? How do you mess up that bad though? If there's one thing I'm gonna shit on Ubisoft for, and I will forever shit on Ubisoft for, don't get me wrong, I'm not playing devil's advocate here. I don't like Ubisoft. I hate them just as much as you do, right? Because they ruined my favorite franchise, right? But I'm saying if you're gonna shit on them, do it for the right reason. So yeah, Ubisoft deserves all the hate for this shit right here. The fact that they stole from Zoro and the fact that they didn't do the research properly. It's sending it to Japan of all places. Are you fucking stupid? Like, once again, you as a multi-billion-dollar company does not have the right to make these mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Like, gone are the days where Assassin's Creed actually did its research. Because remember, like, when the Notre Dame Cathedral burned down in real life? You know what they used to rebuild it? Assassin's Creed Unity. Yeah, that's how much detail they put into that goddamn game. It was on a 1-to-1 scale to the fact that they rebuilt the actual real-life cathedral with that game. Don't you understand how much of a big deal that is? But once again, it could be chalked down to the different studios. Because like I said, the people who are making Assassin's Creed Shadows, from a guy who's played all the games from Ubisoft Quebec, they are the worst studio, in my opinion, when it comes to Ubisoft, right? If this was Ubisoft Montreal, maybe they would handle it differently. But it's Ubisoft Quebec, and they haven't been the brightest, as it has been shown in the past, right? But with Syndicate and Odyssey, they're both dumpster fires. I fucking hate those games. And those are the same guys who are making Shadows. So once again, it is kind of problematic to be in that situation. So yeah, after this video, I'm not sure what else I'm going to say about this topic, because it's pretty much, it's there. It's kind of done, right? Unless if Ubisoft says something else, makes a new statement. But I don't think they should, because this seems pretty definitive, right? They basically said that, yeah, sorry if he offended you, but this is what we do. This is what we do, and they're right. It's not their fault, because that's what they've been doing this entire time. That's what they made their business off of, altering history and changing it. Sometimes to people's dismay, I will agree. Yeah, some people don't like it, but once again, they're not going to do anything about that, because once again, it's all about money. It's just good business, essentially. Really, that's all Ubisoft really cares about, just the business aspect of it, right? You get offended, who fucking cares, right? And is that shitty? Yeah, because once again, if Ubisoft is offending the actual Japanese cultures, then that's telling of something, right? But once again, what are you gonna do about it, right? Of course we can shit on Ubisoft for like, oh, why are you offending people? But once again, I mean, like, I feel like in today's day and age, everyone's gonna get offended, right? But I'm saying that if the Japanese themselves are offended, then that must mean something, right? Because they are the ultimate authority when it comes to what their culture is and how it should be portrayed, because it's their culture. You know what I'm saying? We, as the Westerners, I'm sitting here in Canada, Americans, right? We don't have the fucking right to change people's history. I get that. But once again, that's their entire business. That's Ubisoft's business of changing history. But once again, at the end of the day, it's just a fucking game. You don't like it, don't buy it. Simple as that. Ignore it. Forget it ever existed. The same way how I forgot that Suicide Squad Kill Justice League ever existed. Same thing with Gotham Knights, Avengers, right? You don't like a game, ignore it. Boot it, throw it in the fucking trash can. Don't buy it. Simple as that, right? Because it's not a first world problem, this, right? I mean, like, you can boycott Ubisoft if that makes you feel better. Oh yeah, boycott Ubisoft because they disrespected my culture. You can do that, essentially, right? Other than that, I'm not sure what else you can do. Just protest with your wallets, protest with your mind, right? Just don't fuck with them anymore. But other than that, there's not much you can do. You can't prevent this game from coming out, because it will come out. Because once again, they put too much time and effort into it, and money, most of all, right? So that's what's going to happen. So yeah, basically I just thought I'd talk about this whole situation with Assassin's Creed Shadows and what they basically said. I really have nothing else to say about this topic, because once again, it's all pretty much there. Right, it's nothing we don't know about it. Unless if something drastic happens next time, I might make another video. But until then, that's all we have to say, and you know what the fuck it is.